Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to another creepy book club. You guys will be pleased to know we are not talking about a teen book this time. Nope, still not salty about that. We're gonna be talking about Final Girls by Riley Sager. Really quick though, before we get into that, I want to say thank you to my creepy patron peeps for your support of my channel. Thank you so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link in the description box. Alright, so a real quick summary of Final Girls. First, there were three. The media calls them the Final Girls: Quincy, Sam, Lisa, the infamous group that no one wants to be a part of. The sole survivors of three separate killing sprees, they are linked by their shared trauma. Then there were two. But when Lisa dies in mysterious circumstances, Quincy shows up unannounced on Quincy's doorstep, and she must admit that she doesn't really know anything about the other Final Girls. Can she trust them, or can there only ever be one? All Quincy knows is one thing: she is next. May or may not have been able to tell from my quick little summary that this kind of plays on the idea of the final girl. While I wouldn't say it directly kind of involves horror movies or, you know, even really mention it as horror movies, there is a quick little blurb in the beginning of the book where kind of the final girl trope in horror is mentioned. But I kind of like that about the book almost. It very much takes the idea of the final girl into the real world and gives a sort of explanation as to what happens to these girls after the traumatic events happen. I also kind of thought that this plays on the idea that usually in a horror movie sequel, a lot of the times, like in Friday the 13th Part 2, the movie opens with the final girl from the previous movie getting killed. And I feel like this kind of plays on that idea. Although obviously the three final girls in the book, Lisa, Sam, and Quincy, were not attacked by the same person. They were separate incidences, but it kind of plays on that idea. In the sequel, the final girl from the previous movie does not always make it to the end of the sequel. So I like that this kind of played on that idea as well. I really liked the first half of the book. Even though you kind of don't really know where the book is going in the first half of it, you do realize once things start moving in the second half that the first half is a lot of setup, but it's not boring setup, if that makes sense. Like, things are still happening, but there's no like concrete conflict or plot really until the second half of the book, at least in my opinion. When we're introduced to Quincy and how she feels about being a final girl and how she's dealt with that trauma, and then when Sam comes into her life, I feel like that's a lot of setup. When stuff really starts happening in the second half of the book, it's much more meaningful and you understand the characters a whole lot more, or at least you think you do, and you know, that's the fun part of reading, obviously. And there is Quincy, who is our protagonist, and this book is entirely from her point of view. And she's a very unreliable protagonist. She does have a little bit of, I can't remember what they call it in the book, but it's like post-traumatic event amnesia or something, where she's forgotten the bulk of what happened to her at the cabin. She only remembers the beginning when her and her friends arrived at the cabin and her running through the woods and running into a cop, luckily for her, and seeing her attacker be shot down. She doesn't remember the details, so she is an unreliable protagonist, and I think it goes without saying that obviously Quincy is a suspect as well. So it's like, not only are we trying to figure out who is killing the final girls now, but there also is the mystery surrounding what actually happened to Quincy at the cabin. And like I said, obviously you know, it is hinted at like, maybe it's Quincy, maybe Quincy did something in the cabin and she's blocked it out, and she's painted herself as this survivor. So there's a lot of conflict going on, and there's kind of two stories being told. So not every other chapter, but every now and then you'll get a flashback chapter where, you know, the story of what happened to Quincy initially is being told. What Quincy is dealing with post, you know, this traumatic event, years and years after the traumatic event, is really like deep psychological trauma. I really kind of liked that because I feel like in horror movies that's kind of glossed over. Or, you know, we like to paint the final girls as heroines who are very strong, and they come out of the event, you know, much stronger. And I like that this kind of takes the route, like, yeah, she is strong, but she's also very damaged because, you know, that's a extremely traumatic thing to go through. So I liked that. I won't give away exactly what Quincy does to kind of cope with what happened to her, but she's definitely not perfect and she is very damaged. And I think that makes her a more interesting character and probably also a little more unreliable, but you know, it makes for an exciting read. Obviously, I'm not going to give away exactly what happens at the end of the book, but there are definitely twists and turns, and I definitely did not see them coming. And I kind of, you know, this was one of those, like, I wasn't really trying to figure out what happened as I was reading. I was just being taken along for the ride. Obviously, you kind of can't stop yourself from thinking like, ooh, maybe it's this person. Ooh, maybe it's this person. But I wasn't actively like trying to solve it all by myself. I just let the story take me for a ride. The only thing I can say that I didn't like so much about this book was some of the characters, mainly Quincy's boyfriend, Jeff, right? Yeah, Jeff. I feel like they set him up really well at the beginning of the book, like his relationship with Quincy and, you know, how he's so like normal compared to her and things like that. I feel like in the second half of the book, he's kind of just forgotten. I know because of what Jeff's character does, he is like he's a lawyer, you know, he's an attorney, so he is gone a lot of the times, like on business trips and things like that. But I just feel like the second half of the book, he's very much forgotten. At least for most of the second half of the book, he's just not there. And then he's given like quick little closure at the end of the book. I know it's not really about him, but I was really interested in his relationship with Quincy, and I feel like their relationship was a bit problematic as well, because in the beginning of the book, Quincy has convinced herself that she's fine, and on surface level, she appears fine. She's running a blog that's very successful and things like that. Because of a lot of money she's received because of the traumatic incident, she has a very nice apartment that she shares with Jeff, and because she's convinced herself that she is fine, Jeff is convinced that she is fine, and she's so brave and strong for getting through this traumatic event as a stronger person. And it kind of ends up being something that's like grating on Quincy throughout the book, as Jeff keeps saying, yeah, but you're not like the other final girls, you got through it, you're stronger and you're okay and you're fine now, and things like that, when she's not. So I was very interested in that dynamic, so I was a little disappointed that he kind of just got forgotten about in the second half of the book. Was Final Girls worth it? I say yes. I definitely know one of you. I know her screen name on Instagram, Maudlin. I hope I said that right. I know you were reading it too, and you definitely finished it long before I did. So sorry it took so long for me to finish it and get a creepy book club out, but you were definitely not wrong. It was amazing and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really good. It was a really good read, and it's not a teen book, you guys. It's not a teen book. And even if it were, there's nothing wrong with that. On Goodreads, it has a 3.8 out of 5. And then on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com, it has a 4 out of 5. So come on, people, it's good. So if you've read Final Girls by Riley Sager, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about it. And if you did read it and you want to talk about the ending, please just give a spoiler warning for anybody, because, you know, reading a book is much more of a time commitment than watching a movie. So I feel like spoilers are way more important for books than movies. As always, you can find me at all the normal social media places. The links for those are in the description box. You can also find me on my blog at nightmaremaven.com, on morebusybeautiful.com as a contributing writer, as well as on their YouTube channel as a contributing host, and on patreon.com/nightmaremaven if you want to check that out and support the channel. I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here and become a Creepy Peep today. I post videos Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye!